Ferrari's strategy at Spa helped Charles Leclerc take the lead. But for Lewis Hamilton, the same sequence turned into a nightmare. He entered the pits under the virtual safety car, watched Ferrari prioritize the fight at the front, then left the box in a moment of chaos that ended with one of his own mechanics being struck. Hamilton's reaction was immediate. He said he could not turn the car. And that one sentence changed the entire meaning of Ferrari's Belgian strategy. Because this was not simply a slow stop. It was not one unfortunate delay. It was a decision that helped one Ferrari challenge for victory, while the other Ferrari absorbed the risk, the pressure, and the consequences. Hamilton had already survived contact with George Russell. He was carrying a 5-second penalty. He was trying to protect his championship position. Then Ferrari placed both cars into the same crowded pit sequence. Leclerc gained the strategic advantage. Hamilton left with another investigation hanging over him. That does not automatically prove Ferrari deliberately sacrificed Hamilton, but raises a much more serious question. When the race reached its most important moment, did Ferrari protect the team's result, or did it leave Hamilton exposed? Subscribe to the channel, because the final detail reveals why the strategy looked brilliant for Leclerc, but felt like betrayal from Hamilton's side of the garage. The Belgian Grand Prix had already become chaotic before Ferrari made its biggest strategic decision. George Russell suffered a problem with boost and energy deployment after the opening corner. His Mercedes did not accelerate normally. The field compressed around him. Cars began moving in different directions. Every driver had less space, less grip, and less time to react. Hamilton entered that confusion. Contact followed. Russell was sent out of the race. The stewards judged Hamilton responsible, although they recognized the difficult conditions of the opening lap and reduced the usual punishment. Hamilton received a 5-second penalty. That penalty changed everything. From that point forward, Hamilton was not racing only against the cars around him. He was racing against a punishment already attached to his result. Ferrari now had to manage two separate objectives. Leclerc was fighting near the front. Hamilton was trying to recover. Leclerc needed the strategy to create a chance at victory. Hamilton needed the strategy to protect him from losing even more ground. Those goals were connected. They were not identical. And this is where the pressure inside Ferrari began to grow. A team with two cars near the front wants to maximize the total result. That sounds simple. In reality, it can force painful choices. Do you prioritize the driver with the better track position? Do you protect the driver fighting for the lead? Do you split the strategies? Do you bring both cars in at the same time? Every option helps someone. Every option risks hurting someone else. Ferrari chose the double stack. The second virtual safety car created the opportunity. Every driver on the circuit had to slow down. That reduced the relative cost of making a pit stop. A stop that would normally lose a large amount of time suddenly became much cheaper. Ferrari reacted. Leclerc entered first. Hamilton followed. The decision was aggressive. It was also logical from the team's perspective. Ferrari could service both cars while the field was moving slowly. Leclerc could gain track position. Hamilton could change tires without paying the full cost of a normal stop. On paper, everyone benefited. But Formula One strategies are not judged on paper. They are judged by what happens in the pit lane. And the second Hamilton arrived, the situation became dangerous. A double stack compresses an enormous amount of work into a few seconds. The first car enters the box. The crew changes the tires. That car must leave cleanly. The second car arrives almost immediately. The mechanics reset. The next set of tires must be ready. The driver must stop in exactly the correct position. Then the car must be released safely. There's almost no margin. One delay affects the second driver. One slow wheel change creates congestion. One mechanic standing slightly out of position increases risk. One mistimed release can turn strategy into chaos. For Leclerc, the sequence worked. Ferrari used the virtual safety car to place him into the effective lead. That was the headline. Ferrari had beaten Mercedes strategically. Ferrari had taken control. Leclerc was ahead of Kimi Antonelli. But behind that success, Hamilton's stop was becoming a completely different story. As Hamilton left the pit box, his Ferrari struck one of the team's mechanics. His radio reaction was blunt. He said he could not turn the car. That message matters because it removes the easiest explanation. This was not simply a driver rushing out of the box without looking. Hamilton was saying the car could not rotate as he needed. He was leaving a crowded working area. Mechanics were still nearby. The space was limited, and the Ferrari was not responding normally enough for him to avoid contact. The governing body opened an unsafe release investigation. Hamilton was summoned to meet the officials after the race. Ferrari now faced another possible punishment. And suddenly, the strategy that had helped Leclerc lead the race had placed Hamilton inside a safety controversy. That contrast is impossible to ignore. One side of the garage gained the lead. The other side gained another investigation. This is why some Ferrari supporters viewed the decision as a betrayal. Not because the team openly told Hamilton to lose. Not because there was evidence of a deliberate attempt to damage his race. But because the strategy appeared to place the maximum benefit on Leclerc's result while Hamilton absorbed the maximum risk. That is a much more complicated accusation. Ferrari could argue that the double stack was the best available team decision. The virtual safety car created a rare opportunity. Failing to stop Hamilton may have cost him more time. Waiting another lap could have destroyed his strategy. The team had to make a decision quickly. All of that is true, but Hamilton's side of the story still looks painful. He entered the sequence already carrying a penalty. He was already recovering from a Russell collision. He needed a clean stop. He needed Ferrari to simplify his race. Instead, the pit lane created another problem. A mechanic was hit. Hamilton said the car would not turn. The stewards became involved again. That is not simplification. That is escalation. And this is where Ferrari's responsibility becomes larger than the exact strategic call. A team is responsible for the complete environment around the driver. It controls the pit box. It controls the release signal. It controls the order in which the cars stop. It controls the timing. It understands how much space is available. It knows whether another car is approaching. It knows where the mechanics are standing. The driver controls the car, but the team controls the situation into which the car is released. That is why unsafe release rules exist. They do not allow a team to treat a pit exit as the driver's problem alone. The competitor must release the car only when it is safe. Hamilton's comment added another layer. If he genuinely could not turn the car properly, then Ferrari had to understand why. Was the steering restricted because of the angle of the car? Was the space around the box too tight? Was another person or piece of equipment blocking the natural path? Did the pressure of the double stack force the team to release him before the area was fully clear? The available source did not provide a complete final technical explanation, but the absence of an immediate answer made the moment more serious, not less. Ferrari had created a strategy that required absolute precision. Hamilton's exit showed that precision was missing, and the consequences landed on Hamilton. That is the point his supporters could not ignore. Leclerc received the strategic reward. Hamilton received the operational damage. This does not mean Leclerc was responsible. He was not. Leclerc followed the team's call. He entered first because he held the stronger position in the race. Ferrari wanted to fight for the win. That is what a racing team is supposed to do. But prioritizing the leading car creates obligations toward the second car. If Hamilton must wait, the team must minimize the loss. If Hamilton follows into the same pit sequence, the team must guarantee enough space. If the operation becomes crowded, the release must remain safe. Ferrari could not pursue Leclerc's victory at any cost. And at Spa, the cost became visible when a mechanic was struck. That is why the word betrayal feels emotionally powerful. Hamilton had arrived at Ferrari to fight for championships. He was second in the standings after Belgium. He remained the team's highest-placed driver in the Drivers' Championship. Yet during the most important strategic sequence of a race, Ferrari's priority was naturally Leclerc's battle for the lead. Again, that choice can be defended. Leclerc was ahead on the road. He had the immediate opportunity. But from Hamilton's perspective, the optics were brutal. He was already trying to recover. He was already managing a penalty. Then his teammate received the clean strategic advantage, while his own stop placed him in physical danger and under regulatory scrutiny. A driver does not need to accuse the team publicly for tension to exist. Sometimes the sequence itself creates the message. The team is fighting for one driver's victory. The other driver is expected to survive the consequences. That is how trust begins to weaken. And trust had already been under pressure. Before Belgium, Hamilton had spoken about setup difficulties. At Silverstone, he said his magic had disappeared. He pointed toward a front wing setup that was not optimized as effectively as Leclerc's. That comment suggested Ferrari was still struggling to give Hamilton the same level of confidence in the car. This was not simply about preference. A driver must trust the front end. He must know how the car will respond when he turns. He must understand the rear grip when he applies power. If the car does not behave naturally, the driver loses time. More importantly, he loses certainty. Then Belgium produced a moment where Hamilton literally said he could not turn the car. The two events were not necessarily caused by the same technical issue. The source does not establish that, but emotionally they connect. At Silverstone, Hamilton lacked confidence in the way the front of the car was set up. At Spa, he left the pit box saying the car would not turn as required. Ferrari now had another reason to examine whether Hamilton was being given a machine he fully understood and trusted. That is where a strategy dispute can become something larger. A driver may accept losing time for the team. He may accept that the leading car receives priority. He may accept a difficult double stack, but he must trust that the team will not place him in an impossible situation. Hamilton's reaction suggested that trust was being tested. Ferrari had already made an avoidable procedural mistake before the race. The team was fined €10,000 for failing to physically return 2 sets of dry weather tires before the following practice session. The tires had been electronically returned. The physical process was not completed on time. That infringement did not improve performance. It did not decide the race, but it showed Ferrari missing another detail. Then came the Russell collision, then the 5-second penalty, then the double stack, then the mechanic incident, then the unsafe release investigation. One problem followed another. This is why the Belgian weekend felt less like one strategy mistake and more like an operational breakdown. Ferrari was reacting constantly. The team reacted to Russell's retirement. It reacted to the virtual safety car. It reacted to Hamilton's penalty. It reacted to the pit lane incident. It reacted to the stewards. A championship team wants to control events. Ferrari appeared to be surviving them. Leclerc's temporary lead disguised that instability. The strategy looked brilliant because it placed him ahead. But a strategy must be judged across both cars. Did Ferrari maximize Leclerc? Yes. Did it protect Hamilton? That answer was much less comfortable. Hamilton still finished 4th. That result may tempt people to dismiss the entire controversy. He recovered. He scored points. He moved ahead of Russell in the championship. But 4th place does not erase the process required to reach it. A strong driver can rescue a damaged race. That does not prove the team managed the race well. Hamilton's experience allowed him to continue after contact, a penalty, and the pit lane incident.